When Mike came in, he talked about winning, and I believe everybody on the team bought into that. And, we built a brotherhood, a strong brotherhood, and, I believe that's really what got us here.
It's funny, I told the team on Saturday night, I got a bad habit of, him and Han into my office and with the rest of our coaching staff thinking about, plays and what we're going to run and how it's going to go. And then you get around the guys and you see them, and all of a sudden all those worries don't kind of go away magically. And I think that speaks to how they played. It just became very clear very early that they were a determined bunch, that we were going to play our style ball last night. And at that point, really, the plays became irrelevant. It was really the style of how the guys played, and just to play that relentlessly throughout the game was really impressive, and really proud of those guys. They played. That was a remarkable game by our defense.
Yeah, and I think stylistically is a great way to put it by all of the Seahawks. As our Mickey and Minnie join us now from the happiest place on earth, Peter Schrager and Tim Hasselbeck joining us now from the handoff. Tim, I want to start with you. What did you make of Seattle's dominant defensive performance?
They were incredible, Matt, and I think that my big takeaway is to look at the job that John Schneider, their GM, has done in Seattle. He clearly has had a plan in terms of the type of players that he wanted to bring there to be a part of that defense, prioritizing speed and length, and it showed up really throughout the season, but it showed up in the biggest game of the year as well. And so you just look at certain guys that they've drafted, like Nick Emmanwori. You look at guys, with length and speed. That stuff matters. And then you look at what they did in free agency in terms of targeting guys that have had success playing in the NFL to fit what they're going to do defensively. They did that with DeMarcus Lawrence. They did that with Ernest Jones. And so I think when you look at how they played on the field, it just was hit after hit when you look at guys that John Schneider has brought into that organization.
And I mean, Schrager, such a huge part of their championship DNA is defense. As we know, they went to back-to-back Super Bowls with the Legion of Boom, winning their first one in 2013. How does the dark side of today compare to that Legion of Boom?
Well, I'm here at Disneyland, Hannah, and there are a ton of Seahawks fans who have been blessed for two different generations of this defense. I think you could put it in that conversation based on what they did last night. I don't know if anyone had had a better first three quarters of a defense than what this defense did last night. Now, Drake Maye threw for 295 yards. I don't know if I can go back and actually tell you about any of them. There was the Mac Hollins catch, and there was a touchdown, but that was a lot of garbage yards. They had 0 points the first three quarters. I would add this, and Tim, I think you could appreciate this. That Legion of Boom team obviously had some big names, but really at the strength, it was guys on that defensive line, the Cliff Avrils, the Michael Bennett's, and they just had waves and waves of them. That's what this defense is. What a testament to that franchise that they could turn the complete roster over from 2013, 2014, and do this all over again within the span of a decade. Testament to John Schneider and, of course, Mike Macdonald, the head coach.
And did so against a player who was runner-up for league MVP. You just mentioned Drake Maye. And his shoulder was a storyline going into the game. He spoke about it afterwards, about how it felt throughout the night.
Yeah, my shoulder feels, I shot it up, so not much feeling. It was good to go, and it felt all right.
Did you feel like your shoulder limited you in this playoff run?
I think it'd be hard to say that. I was feeling good enough to be out there. If I'm out there, I wouldn't put the team in, harm's way to not be, myself, and just didn't make plays tonight.
Did appear on several throws that the zip we've seen out of Maye throughout the season wasn't there. What did you see?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say he wasn't 100%, but I think he was good enough to go, and most guys, especially guys that play that position, don't feel perfect at the end of the season. Now, I actually thought it showed up more. Did he miss some throws? Sure, but I thought it showed up more in his reluctance to take off and run. It's really been the best thing he's done throughout the postseason was be a threat as a runner, and I thought he was a little more hesitant than he had been in the past in terms of his eagerness to go and run the football, which they probably were going to need to do with him because they weren't able to protect him. So, in terms of his performance, they weren't able to protect him in the first half. And I don't think that he necessarily played poorly in the first half, but because he was just getting hit so much in the first half, I think it ultimately affected how he played in the second half. So, shoulder or not, you have to take your hat off to the Seattle defense in terms of their ability to win up front and the pressure they put on, quite frankly, one of the better young quarterbacks in the game.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And Schrager, they couldn't protect him really the entire playoffs. 21 sacks. That was a playoff record. I know there's plenty of blame to go around for their offensive struggles, but where do you place it?
It's hard because I think they're so ahead of schedule. I don't think anyone would have looked at this roster before the season and said they were even a playoff contender, and now they're in the Super Bowl and we're trying to pick it apart. Look, of course, Will Campbell, as a rookie left tackle in the Super Bowl, got destroyed. But he had gotten destroyed the last few weeks also. The entire left side of the offensive line was something they targeted, and then the Seahawks were able to build their defensive game plan around that. Do I blame the fact that they have a second-year quarterback and a rookie left tackle who might be better suited playing guard on those players? No, I think it's outstanding that they got this far. They had a really good defensive performance in the wild card round against Herbert, the same against Stroud, the same against Jarrett Stidham. Eventually, though, the pumpkin showed up here, and it's like Cinderella, we're here, it makes sense. Like, it was going to happen eventually. You can't give up that many sacks, and these guys are so young and so ahead of schedule, I don't think they were necessarily expecting to be there.
They are ahead of schedule, and I think when you look at their roster, or just look at the game last night, basically, other than Garrett Bradbury, I think every other offensive lineman was responsible in some form for a sack. So Wilson at left guard, Campbell at left tackle, the same thing happened on the right side of the offensive line. And so New England's going to have to look at it and say, yeah, did we probably exceed expectations in year one under Mike Vrabel? Absolutely. But how do we get better going forward? And I think what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to decide, does Will Campbell stay at left tackle, or the concerns in terms of his arm length, does that end up meaning that you have to kick him inside or do something else
That's
with
a hard
him?
fourth overall pick.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand. But sometimes you might have to say, look, we have got to take our medicine, admit the mistake. The other thing I would say is I think at receiver. I think they can upgrade at receiver. That will happen. So they're a team that if they want to compete in the AFC with the teams that in what they will face in this era with Vrabel and Maye, they're going to have to get better around Maye. They just will. And they did on the defensive side of the ball this past year. They showed improvement. They are ahead of schedule, but they will need to improve. It starts up front.
And expectations set now. They're a Super Bowl caliber team. Now, to the schedule work out for them? Probably a little bit, but we'll see what they do in the offseason, you said, is they're going to be one of the teams to watch. One of the players to watch, Sam Darnold. 5th team in the NFL. The career arc is complete. The only player in that much ballyhoo draft class that has won a Super Bowl. Schrags, what did you make of Sam Darnold's performance last night?
I followed Sam Darnold his entire career. So I knew him when he was on the Jets. I knew him when he was on the Panthers, of course, the 49ers, the Vikings, and now. And what I take away from it is we're so used to this cliche of the guy with the giant chip on his shoulder, and this is a revenge game. He doesn't have that bone in his body, and if he does, he doesn't wear it on his sleeve. Everything to Sam Darnold seems to be as if he's grateful for the opportunities. He learned at these different previous stops. And yesterday, in this moment where you thought there might be some sort of slam dunk on the Jets or some slam dunk on the Vikings, he takes the high road. And he says, no, I love my teammates. I love that it worked out. I'm so grateful for the opportunities to get here. Such a cool way to go about things. And to me, my takeaway is the humble superstar. God forbid we have that. I love the fact he approaches it that way.
Listen, the humility, how about the grit and the mental toughness? You think about his journey, highly recruited kid coming out of high school, goes to SC, it's kind of a glamorous program that had just been churning out quarterbacks, goes to the Jets and very publicly falls on his face and is told probably by everybody outside of his inner circle that he's not going to make it, and then is fighting for his career in Carolina and in San Francisco without really the opportunity that he probably feels like he can get. The number of people that believed in him was tiny. It was small. And so to recover from what he's recovered from, I hope that people understand. Look, it's not Kurt Warner's story of stocking shelves in a grocery store, but it's not far off in terms of probably the dark days that he was dealing with of wondering, can I do this? Will this ever work? And ultimately, he's a Super Bowl champion, which is absolutely wild.
Speaking of your Super Bowl MVP, let's go by the numbers on Kenneth Walker's Super Bowl performance. The 5th offensive player to win Super Bowl MVP while not accounting for a touchdown, either scoring one or throwing one in the game. He joins Joe Namath, Fred Biletnikoff, Deion Branch, and Julian Edelman. Meanwhile, Walker got the offense going when the passing game was really struggling in the first half. His 94 first-half rushing yards, second most for a player before halftime in Super Bowl history. He is the 7th running back actually to win Super Bowl MVP, but the first since Broncos tailback Terrell Davis claimed it in Super Bowl 32 when they beat the Packers. Coach Herm Edwards is with us, and I got to say, Coach, you called it yesterday because you said the key to this game for the Patriots was going to be able to stop Walker and then make Sam Darnold beat them. Obviously, from the get-go, they couldn't stop this man. Why not?
Well, it starts with their offensive line, Seattle's offensive line. They dictated the terms of how the game was going to be played, and they went right at them. There was no fair dodging. We're going to run the football and see if you can stop this, and obviously they were very successful. Walker, he's a tough guy to get down on the grass. I mean, he's physical. He's not very big. He's got a big old body on his legs and his thighs, and they couldn't tackle him. And this obviously helped Sam Darnold, and they control the game when you think about it. You can run the ball like that, right. You control the game.
I mean, he had 77 yards after contact, which was the second most in Super Bowl history. All right, let's go on the flip side. What told you right away this was going to be a long day for the Pats?
Oh, they couldn't block the front. They couldn't block that four-man front. They were outmatched. This is a physical defense. They knew it going in, and you could tell after the first series or two, when you see the line of scrimmage change like that, poor Drake he had no shot. He had no shot. I mean, he had been sacked going into this game already 15 times. They hit him a bunch. They sacked him. I mean, look, it's not Drake Maye's fault. This offensive line is young, especially on the left side of it. I'm talking about, obviously, the Patriots. Mm-hmm. They were just outmatched.
Some of his third down throws were really bad, though. Were really off. They didn't score any points on the first 10 drives of the game, so.
When they're hitting you like that, Hannah, you're probably not going to be very accurate.
Exactly. Coach, love it. It's been a great football season with you. Thank you, my friend.
The headlines, you knew they were going to be out. Seattle Times redemption, that's in one of them from Seattle this morning. The morning after is everyone in the Pacific Northwest celebrating. And the other one, maybe the most appropriate, domination with the D outlined on its own because it's exactly what it was as we go back to the most magical place on earth, Disneyland, all a part of today's handoff for ESPN. Show's been out there throughout the afternoon. And Schrager joining us now. And look, it's hard to repeat Peter Schrager. So how are the Seahawks set up to do so, even with losing Clint Kubiak, who will be the head coach of the Raiders?
Look, they bring back most of their players. And here's the real question when Kubiak is going to Las Vegas. Is he taking any of those coaches with him? A lot of times you get something called the brain drain. When you win a Super Bowl, all the assistant coaches get promoted. They get to go to different places and explore. Can Kubiak recruit and take guys? Will he take other people? I look at names like John Benton, the offensive line coach, one of the most respected in the league. Jake Peets, his passing game coordinator, one of the best. Andrew Janocko, one of the top quarterbacks coaches. Do they stay and maybe get elevated in Seattle, or do they leave? But you're asking me if the Seahawks can repeat. Folks, do you think the Seahawks can repeat this next year? Who am I? Who am I? They're very passionate, Matt. I'm just one man's opinion. They tell me yes.
Schrager asking the hard-hitting questions with fans in Seattle jerseys all behind him. Hey, the season's over, okay? So we have to do an appropriate finish, too, for Pete's sake. So the season finale, give it to us, sir.
Number one, the first thing I want to sound off on, Sam Darnold's journey was just absolutely awesome. Can we take a second to just go through what this guy, his career is taking? And then the fact he threw no interceptions in the playoffs after everyone waiting for the other shoe to drop. I absolutely love the fact that he was flawless when it mattered most, even putting to rest any of that nonsense where just wait, he'll see ghosts. He didn't see ghosts, he saw the Lombardi last night. Number two, hey, this is where I get a little bit, if I'm a Seahawks fan, I got a chip on my shoulder. I wake up this morning, I'm thinking Seahawks. I go to the old DraftKings app, and what do I see? The Rams are favored in the NFC West for next season. The Rams, who they beat 2 out of 3 times, who fell short. The Vegas books, they all love the Rams. Already the Seahawks are being disrespected after one of the greatest defensive performances we have ever seen in a run. Nope, not good enough. And number 3, maybe my greatest for Pete's sake moment on this show, guys, on SportsCenter. I'm pissed off that Bad Bunny didn't ask me to be a part of this halftime show. I'm watching this thing. I see Jessica Alba. I see Lil Miko. I see all these different Pedro Pascal's. My phone was open. I wasn't working last night. Matt, Hannah, the fact that I'm seeing Dave Grutman, the big club connoisseur, I was available. I would have loved to have been a part of the halftime show. Nothing. Rock Nation didn't reach out to me. NBC didn't reach out to me. Bad Bunny lost my number. I wasn't a part of the halftime show, and that's for
Schrager, what the hell would you have offered to that halftime show? What would you have done?
Schrager.
Does this not do it for you? This is what we would have had.
No.
It would have been incredible.
No.
Yeah, and in one dance like that, you would have ended Bad Bunny's movement in the matter of 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I know.
All right.
I know.
And
Our boy
today
can
isn't about a
dream.
bunny. It's about a Mickey. Schrager, you know what?
there you
We're
go.
canceling for Pete's sake. It's done.
Jeez.
It's on.